My name is Denise Washington. I am 57 years old, and for more than 30 years, I lived with a truth that even my son never knew. Not because I was ashamed, but because I was afraid. Afraid that if my son ever saw how much power I really had, he might stop seeing me as just his mother. I never told my son how much I earn. Not when he was learning how to walk. Not when he cried himself to sleep after his first heartbreak. Not even when he became a man standing on his own feet. Because to him, I was just Mama, the woman who woke up before sunrise, who packed his lunch in silence, who counted every dollar at the kitchen table, who sometimes pretended she wasn't tired, just so my son wouldn't worry. He thought I was struggling. He thought life had been hard on me. He never knew. I earned $42,000 every single month. The life I built in silence. I work in a world most people never see. A world of glass towers, quiet elevators, and rooms where decisions are made that can change entire industries overnight. I am the managing director of risk and portfolio strategy at one of the most powerful hedge funds in the country. People don't raise their voices around me. They lower them. They wait. They listen. Because when I speak, things move. Millions of dollars. Sometimes more. But none of that followed me home. At home, I was just a mother. I still live in the same modest brick house where I raised my son. The same creaky stairs. The same kitchen table. The same window where I used to sit, watching him play outside as a child. I still drive my old car. Still shop without looking at brands. Because I learned something life forced into me. Money can change your life, but it should never change your soul. And I refused to let it change my son. Flashback. The night everything fell apart. I was 24 years old and 8 months pregnant. I remember that night like it never left me. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. His father stood by the door, avoiding my eyes. "I'm not ready for this," he said. No anger. No emotion. Just distance. And then he left. Just like that. I stood there for a long time. Not crying. Not screaming. Just standing. Because sometimes pain doesn't hit you like a storm. Sometimes, it settles inside you like silence. That night I sat on the bathroom floor, holding my stomach, whispering to a child who hadn't even seen the world yet. "I don't know how, but I promise you, I will not fail you." That promise became my entire life. The years no one saw. People see success, but they never see the years it takes to build it. I worked 2 jobs. During the day, I stood behind a bank counter, smiling at customers who never knew I hadn't slept. At night, I cleaned office floors, the same kind of offices I would one day run. I studied at 2 a.m. while my son slept on my chest. Sometimes I would wake up with a pen still in my hand and tears on my face. I was exhausted, but I never stopped, because every time I wanted to quit, I would look at my son and remind myself, I don't have that option. Years passed. Slowly, painfully, things changed. One promotion, then another. One opportunity, then another. And before I even realized it, I had built a life no one expected from me. But I never changed how I lived at home, because I didn't want my son to grow up thinking money makes you important. I wanted him to grow up knowing character does. The call that changed everything. It was a Wednesday evening when my son called me. His voice sounded different. "Mom, Simone's parents are coming from New York." I smiled. "That's good, baby." There was a pause. "We're having dinner on Saturday. I want you to come." Another pause. And then, "And Mom, just try to look a little more presentable." The line went quiet after that. But something inside me didn't. That sentence stayed with me. Not loud. Not angry. Just heavy. That night I sat alone on my couch, holding an old photo of my son when he was 5. His little hand in mine. His smile so full of love. So full of pride. And I whispered, "When did that change?" And that's when I made my decision. Saturday night. The test. I didn't dress to impress. I dressed to reveal. I wore my oldest dress. No jewelry. No makeup. Just the version of me the world usually overlooks. Because I needed to know something. Not about them. About my son. When I walked into the restaurant, everything felt different. The lights were softer. The air heavier. and the distance between people clearer. My son stood when he saw me. There was a smile, but behind it, nervousness. Simone was polite, but her parents said everything without words. Her mother's eyes scanned me once. That was enough. I had already been judged. The dinner. First, it was calm. Too calm. Conversations that sounded normal, but weren't. Questions that looked polite, but weren't. So Denise, what do you do? I work in finance. Oh, that must be simple at your level. Every sentence was wrapped in a smile, but every smile carried distance. I answered quietly. I manage. 'Cause sometimes, silence says more than explanations ever could. The breaking point. And then it happened. Her mother leaned forward. Her voice soft. Almost caring. We've been thinking about the future. Pause. We want the kids to live peacefully without stress. Another pause. We can support you. Maybe $1,000 a month. So you don't have to depend on them. The table went silent. But inside me, something finally broke. I looked at her. Then I looked at my son. And for the first time in my life, I didn't see protection in his eyes. I saw hesitation. That hurt more than anything else. The truth. I took a deep breath. And I spoke. Not loudly. Not angrily. But clearly. I raised my son alone. I worked 2 jobs while pregnant. I studied while he slept in my arms. They listened. Really listened. I didn't build my life by depending on anyone. Pause. I chose to live simply. I chose to hide my success, so my son could grow up respecting people, not money. And then, after 30 years, I said the truth out loud. I earn more in a month than what you're offering me in a year. No drama. No shouting. Just truth. What real wealth looks like. I don't need your money, I said. But what hurts me, my voice softened, is that you looked at me and decided my worth. I turned to my son, tears in my eyes. Baby, I gave you everything I had, but I never wanted you to forget who I am. The hug. For a moment, no one moved. Then, my son stood up, slowly, walked toward me, and held me tightly. I'm sorry, Mom. That was all my son said. But in that moment, 30 years of silence broke. After that night, nothing changed overnight, but everything changed within. My son started calling more. Not out of obligation, but out of love. Conversations became honest. Respect became real. Boundaries became clear. Simone came to see me weeks later. Not as someone above me, but as someone willing to learn. We sat together. Not in a mansion. Not in luxury. But in truth. And me. I still live in the same house. Still drive the same car. Still wake up early. Still sit by that same window. But now, my son knows who I really am. Final words. Some nights, I sit in silence and think about everything it took to get here. And I realize something. The greatest wealth I ever built was never in my bank account. It was in raising my son with dignity. It was in never losing myself. And it was in proving that no matter how hard life tries to break you, you don't have to break.